Hello, everybody. This is Kody Bateman. Welcome to Promptings with Kody B. This is our second episode. Super excited about today. We've got an incredible guest today. I'm going to talk a little bit about him and then bring him on screen. But we're really excited about this. Hopefully you had a chance to watch our first episode. We kind of talked about the Promptings process and just the basics of what it is. And a lot of the people we interview, we're going to be talking about that process and how they implement it in their lives. One of the greatest mentors and greatest coaches on this process in the whole wide world is who we have as a guest today. In fact, let me tell you a little bit about this guy, Jordan Adler. I want to tell you a little bit about his story. You know, he tells a very compelling story that at 34 years of age, he was living in an enclosed garage. His rent was $200 a month. He had two roommates. He carried $36,000 in credit card debt. His job only paid him $14,000 a year. He tried 11 network marketing companies in 10 years, and he never signed up one person, never made one penny. So the future looked really bleak for him. Now, that's kind of a familiar story with a lot of people that try network marketing. But he just kept on going, and that was his start. But today, he's one of the highest paid network marketers in the entire world. He's the number one affiliate with the legacy company Send Out Cards, which is now Promptings. And that's why part of why I'm really excited, because Jordan has been with me on this journey of teaching Promptings to the world over the past 18 years. And in doing so, is one of the highest paid, most successful network marketers in the world through our company as an affiliate for our company. He's got a best-selling book called Beach Money. It's sold over 1 million copies. 100% of the profits of his book are donated to an organization that helps entrepreneurs in developing countries. I could go on and on all day about this guy. He's got another book that's out called Better Than Beach Money. So both of those books are amazing. This guy has done incredible things throughout the world. He's been on over 300 podcasts. He's been on big stages all over the world with Richard Branson, Tony Robbins, and others. We could go on, but the cool thing about Jordan is he's a humble servant. So he has all these accolades, but he's a humble servant. Let's bring onto the screen the one and only Jordan Adler. There he is. Jordan, how you doing?
I'm great, Kody. Good to see you. How are you?
How was that for an intro?
Wow. I couldn't have written it better myself.
Hey, listen, we want to jump right in. We're going to try to keep these interviews around 30 minutes, and we're going to give you a bunch of content really quick in a 30-minute period of time. So first of all, how are you, man? How's it going? You look great.
Thank you. I'm doing fantastic. I'm here at my place on the Vegas Strip and heading to San Diego with my sisters, who I have not seen in 7 years together, the three of us. We're heading to San Diego on Sunday, so I'm excited about that.
Oh, that's super cool. Well, listen, we're going to jump right into meat and potatoes today. We've got you for a period of time here, and we're super excited to hear some of your stories. So this whole thing, you and I were introduced, good heck, how long has it been now? About 18 years ago.
18 years ago, yeah. I remember the day I met you.
Yeah, and I told you when we first met, obviously I told you my prompting story about my brother Chris, and you had to make a decision if you were going to continue forward and be a business associate with me and be an affiliate for my company way back then. What was it about that introduction? Because you had a lot of choices. You could have gone to a lot of different companies. People are offering you big checks. I didn't offer you big checks. I just offered you an opportunity. What was it initially that really compelled you to join me in this journey on Promptings?
It kind of reminded me of, you told the story on the first podcast about standing in line in college where you could choose psychology or you could choose business, right? And you chose, you followed your prompting and you just moved towards the business side, but now today you do both. but it kind of reminded me of that. When I was introduced to you for the first time, it was in the it kind of in the I don't know what you call it, a manufactured home, or it was a manufactured facility. It was tiny, you know, and I remember sitting in there, and you know, you told the prompting story, and I had one company offered me $1 million to go join them, and I chose to go with this little startup, you know, that had been around for really about a year, which was you. And the reason was because it was in perfect alignment with my values and my beliefs, and it spoke to me. So because it spoke to me, I felt like I really did not have, it chose me versus me choosing it. And that was acting on a prompting, because there was no evidence of success. I mean, the money that the top money earner in our company at the time was making was not enough to really get my attention, not even close. But I chose it because I saw big potential. I saw a service that would make a big difference in people's lives. And I also attached myself to your vision.
So yeah, it's a great story. So, you know, when you were doing that, you mentioned that, you know, you learned that was a prompting. That prompting is actually kind of what guided you here. Well, listen, we've been on a journey together for 18 years since then. And just to give our listeners just a little bit of the footprint that we've put on the world so far. I mean, we've, you know, part of what we do in acting on promptings is a greeting card system. It's because a greeting card system that you can do online from your smartphone and trigger a real greeting card to go out with your own message on the inside and any picture you want in it. This is our mechanism to act on promptings, and we've sent over 200 million greeting cards like that around the world in the last 18 years. Up to like 13 million gifts have been attached to those. Hundreds of thousands of lives have changed. A lot of people have used this as a relationship marketing tool to the tunes of, you know, billions and billions of new business has gone into people that use this system to appreciate their clients and customers. You've been with me on that whole journey. And so, you know, and doesn't, it really does feel though, like even with those accomplishments, we really are just getting started with this message.
Well, yeah, because I mean, although a lot of people, you know, when you've been around for 18 years, there's a generation of people that have grown up that had never heard of you, you know, in 18 years, right? So, and even the population of people that are our age, you know, it's a sliver, even though it feels like, you know, in our circles, it feels like a lot of people know about us, but really the truth is, they don't. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't, but that's not even it. You know, as technology evolves and as business, just the process of doing business evolves with the transition from, you know, offline networking to the online world, there's just been so much transition and so much change. Like, for example, when we started the company, half the population was still on dial-up internet service. There was no smartphones. There was no apps, and things moved much slower back then. And today, you know, a large percentage of commerce is being done online. And so we've kind of grown up with that and have expertise in it that I think a lot of other companies don't, because we've been able to transition, right, to a new way of doing business, and we have the experience of both. So
yeah, we have transitioned even in our messaging. I remember when we started, and I talk a lot about this we have a book called The Promptings Process, and I talk a lot about this. When we started, it was always about acting on promptings, as the story goes. Creating the card system was about acting on promptings, and from day one we taught seminars, you know, about promptings, you know, what promptings are and how they guide you and those kinds of things, full day seminars. And you've been involved with me with those, you know, from the very beginning. So, man, how many of those have we done together?
Well,
probably over 200.
Probably 250 together.
250
You've done
full day
more.
events.
Yeah, 250 live events. Yeah.
Yeah. So and again, the whole message was always promptings, but in the early days, this was back in 2003 when we started. So in the early days, we kind of led with the card system. So we went out, hey, in fact, even in our names, send out cards. Hey, come join us and send out cards to people. And that was the message in the beginning, because it kind of needed to be the message. It was kind of pre-social media days. People needed a way that they could follow up and genuinely be in contact with people. They didn't have Facebook and that stuff back then. So we led with send out cards. And then as you came in and started sending cards, then we would kind of guide you to the promptings message. So you remember how that works. Well, today we're kind of doing the opposite. Today we're leading with promptings. In fact, we call ourselves promptings now. Talk to us about, because you were there when we led with send out cards in the beginning. Now we're leading with promptings. What's the difference today versus back then? Why is this message so important now?
Well, the truth is, legacy companies and companies that create movements are all led and driven by mission and the culture that's created within the community of people that are involved, both customers and distributors, affiliates, company employees. That's all driven by a culture. And if you look at the companies that, it's very easy when you look at a company like Starbucks, they have a culture. When you look at a company like Apple, they have a culture, and that culture permeates everything they do. And so I see promptings as the foundation. It is the foundation of what we do. You might go into Starbucks to get a coffee, but once you're there, you realize that it's more than just coffee. It's the way people treat you. It's their branding. It's their philosophy around why they do business. So every company that is a movement is driven by a culture. So, and that's really what Promptings is. And that's kind of, and we've kind of gone back to our roots, even though it's always been there, but now it's like front and center.
Yeah, and the timing is really good, because in our society today, there's such an enormous need for a cause like this. I mean, we live in a crazy world today that, all kinds of crazy stuff's going on that we've never seen. In fact, you and I have been connoisseurs of personal development forever. We always try to stay in the positive world. How has that changed today? I mean, because the negativity today, I feel, is so dominant around you that you have to do extra things today to protect yourself and keep yourself in the positive environment. And that's why I think leading with promptings today is so important, because people are looking for a way to get out of that craziness and back to something foundational.
Yeah, it's the negativity is deafening right now because everybody has a voice today because of social media, and the thing that attracts the most attention is the negativity. That's what, for whatever reasons, humans get sucked into that. And so and it doesn't feel real good when you're in it, and everybody, because we're human, we all get sucked into it. And what promptings and send out cards does is help to lift you out of that, so you can get yourself back into the flow of positivity and attracting good things into your life, instead of always running up against obstacles and dealing with we all deal with challenges, but like, it's how you lift yourself out of those challenges that really make the difference. It kind of reminds me of I don't know if you remember Jordan Savage and her mom Luann Savage.
Yeah.
And Luann was going through severe depression, and she was really having a hard time, and Jordan joined our company, and she got her mother starting sending cards, because it helped her mother. Every time she sent a card, she would be focused on another person and lifting another person up, which helped to pull her out of her negativity. And then what happened was, because she was acting on her prompting, she sent a card to her ex-husband. She hadn't been with him for over 30 years. And she sent him a card, and he called her and invited her to go out sailing with him. And then they ended up getting in an airplane while they were on the sailboat. He kissed her on the sailboat, and they ended up getting married on what would have been their 35th wedding anniversary, but they'd been married. They had been divorced for 30 years. That was a result of Jordan acting on a prompting and Luann acting on a prompting. and it changed. And they were married for 5 years until he passed away, and they had a beautiful service for him. And but it changed the world. It changed their world because they acted on their things.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story. And boy, how many stories do we have like that? I mean, there's thousands and thousands of stories like that, which really kind of depicts what we're all about. Now, you've been personal development guy way before you met me. I mean, you've been on that journey for a long time. You've been a student. You're a voracious student of personal development. You're a teacher of personal development. Even way before you met me. The question I have is that, we all have ways to stay in positivity. I love to read, so I'm a voracious reader of positive books. I have to. Let's just let me be fully transparent. I get caught up in negative just like everybody, and I have to rely on my books to keep me in that positive place. And I know you're big on books and tapes and different things like that. You keep yourself exposed. But we've introduced to personal development in the promptings process, we've introduced this mechanism of sending cards every day. And what my experience has been, I love the books and everything, but there's something different about using send out cards as a mechanism to send positivity out. It puts you on a higher positive vibration than any book can give you. That's my experience. I want to hear what you have, what your experience is with that one. So for years you were reading books and doing all the stuff, stay positive. Now you have this mechanism, you're sending out cards every day. What's the difference?
Yeah. So by the way, from this seat here at my condo in Las Vegas, right from this seat, I'm looking at least 300 books around me. So of which I usually get through about a third of a book because I've got the ADHD thing going on. It's really hard for me to stay focused, but once in a while a book grabs my attention all the way through. But I am a voracious reader. I love books. And so to answer your question, the one big differentiator, like this is a huge differentiator, is that you go through you read these books and you go to personal development, and some of them might have workbooks where you fill in some things. Most of them don't have any type of a system connected to their philosophy or their mission or their values that allow you to really follow through in a way that's going to have a positive impact on other people. And so when somebody goes through what we offer, they leave with a system that allows them to impact the world in a positive way by sending physical cards in the mail from an app on your phone, where you can take things you've learned, the feelings you have, your sentiments, and you can drop them quickly onto a card with pictures and hit the send button, and the next day that card is in the mail. I follow my promptings every day, where I think of somebody and there's a reason they came to my mind. I don't know what it is. Most of the time I don't know, but I'll jump on my phone. I might look at their social media to see what they've got going on. I might drop a picture on there, say a few words, and hit the send button. Every day things happen to us. We experience things. We hear about certain people. Somebody's having a birthday, or somebody just lost somebody important to them, or somebody is getting ready to take a trip to Disney World with their family or whatever. You hear these things and there's something that says, I need to reach out to that person. Or they just got some type of a promotion. I need to reach out to that person. But most of the time we just let it go because we don't really have a way to act on it, like in the moment. And now I do. I can jump right on my phone, and in a matter of 2 to 3 minutes, I can have something meaningful in the mail on the way to them, which is like a dream come true for anybody, regardless of whether they're in business or not. Yeah. I remember going to seminars back in the 80s where, Brian Tracy would teach to clip out articles about people and paste them into a card and write a note and mail it to them. Well, that takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And now we can do something similar to that with even a gift in a matter of a couple of minutes, and you don't have to go to the post office. It's just so simple and so quick. Such a gift.
So we teach this promptings process, and it's represented with a loop, and the loop tells you that there's two kinds of promptings. The inner prompting is the inner voice that tells you who you are. The outer prompting is what you do with who you are. It's that voice that says to reach out and thank somebody or send a birthday card, or the stories you just mentioned. Those are outer promptings. And what we teach with this loop is that if you have a mechanism like send out cards where you can act on your outer promptings every day, it creates what we call appreciation energy. That appreciation energy goes around that loop and it ignites your inner prompting and ignites your inner voice. It kind of wakes up your soul, so to speak, and as who you are as a person. So tell us a little bit about that, because again, we've taught these seminars where if you send cards every day, that appreciation energy comes into you and ignites that inner voice. What's been your experience with that over the last several years?
Yeah, and we've talked about this in the past. I kind of like it almost to me feels like just like living in the flow of life rather than always fighting it. There's a lot of people that work really hard to fight the direction that life has taken them, or they ignore the direction that life is suggesting to them, And so I've always, even before I met you and before our company, I've always kind of like been that person that I like people and I like observing people and I pay attention and I listen. I ask questions. I ask a lot of questions and I listen because I'm really truly curious and interested. And life takes you in certain directions that sometimes you don't understand, but you just go, you know what? This is a good thing. I need to follow it. A lot of times because we're busy, our lives are noisy and chaotic. We sometimes go, you know what? I can't do it because of this or that. I know a couple who just like on a whim, it was really truly on a whim. They both had jobs and they just decided one day, they had retirement accounts, and they just decided one day they were going to quit their jobs and get an Airstream and start traveling around the country because they wanted to see the country. And they did that, and they're living off their retirement money. And they've now for 2 years, they've been living with their dog in their Airstream and just sharing their experiences on social media. And it's been amazing, but they acted on a prompting. So it's not always just about sending out stuff. That's a great thing to do. But it's about, where will you let your life lead you to if you started to listen to that inner voice? Where will your life take you?
Yeah, and I like to refer to that loop again, and this loop shows a card on the right side, like sending out appreciation to others, and then on the left side of the loop, it shows. I have an example where it shows me on a front of a boat. You were on that boat.
I was on that boat in Hawaii.
Yeah, in Hawaii. On the inside of that card, I list a lot of my I am statements, my positive affirmations of who I am as a person. I'm a writer, I'm a teacher, things like that. So what we teach is that when we have this appreciation energy moving around the loop and it ignites that inner voice, it is telling you and reminding you of who you are. And you need to nourish that. And that's why we are big advocates of writing I am statements, doing things, sending them to yourself in a card like it shows on that loop. So, and again, we've been teaching that forever. And as that energy, so as you nourish that inner voice, it ignites more promptings. It makes you more intuitive to what's going on around you. So it's just this constant energy that puts you into, you call it flow, I call it rhythm. Puts you into the rhythm of life. You call it flow. And you've got some of the most amazing flow stories.
Yeah.
I want to call them that.
Oh man.
You're the king of stories being in flow and just dynamic, crazy things that happen to you. Maybe share some of that.
Yeah. So, I mean,
you've had some even recently, right?
Yeah, this is one you haven't even heard. So I was on Richard Branson's cruise ship for his 73rd birthday. It was supposed to be his 70th birthday, but it kept getting pushed out. And he was on the ship with about 1,000 of his friends, business associates, and some fans. And the ship holds 4,000 people, but there were about 1,000 people on there. And we were out in the Bahamas and Mexico, and it was really great. But while I was on there, I met this, I mean, out of all the people on the ship, you can only meet, when you're 4 or 5 days, you meet a few people and you get to know a few people, but not that many. You get a handful. And I met this great woman and her daughter from England, named Tracy and Carly. And we hung out a little bit, and I found out she does masterminds, and does personal development training, and she'd been to Necker Island. And then about 2 months later, I was at a mastermind down in Florida, and there's 150 people there. Most of them are under the age of 30. People that the likelihood of our paths colliding are really slim, right? I mean, they're all in the online world. I'm not, I am now, but I wasn't then, and just getting started. And so I meet this couple from San Francisco, young couple in their early 20s, 21, 22 years old. We're sitting talking, and they bring up her name and her daughter. They bring it up while we're at lunch. The name of this woman and her daughter who were on the cruise ship in the Bahamas that were from England. This young couple from San Francisco brings up their name. So that's a prompting, there's a reason I need to know them. So they're coming to Vegas, this young couple, they're coming to Vegas, and we're going to get together. There's a reason. I don't know what it is, but that was just like those kinds of what people call coincidences. They happen to me all the time. Kody knows I've got hundreds of stories like that.
I think that's a great way to state it, is the coincidence, the so-called coincidence, like you're the king of coincidence. You have so many stories like that, and you attribute it to being in this flow, to having this energy moving. So if, you're sending out appreciation, you're appreciating who you are as a person, you're living on a higher vibrational level, basically what the promptings process teaches. And as a result, you're more connected with things. In fact, what's that thing called, the period of connection where you're connected with everybody in the world through
they call it the Kevin Bacon effect, or they call it 6 degrees of separation. But in
6 degrees of separation. Yeah.
In social media, the social media world, it really is like today 1 degree of separation, because everybody's one person away from somebody with social media connections. But I do want to say one thing. So Tracy and her daughter Carly, they were sitting, I noticed them sitting with Richard Branson at lunch one day. And so I grabbed my phone and I took a bunch of pictures of them sitting together, and I sent her a card. I sent both of them a 3-panel card with pictures of them, which I know they don't have. So they don't have, those pictures got posted on social media, but they don't have the pictures. And so when you send them a card, now they have something they can put on their nightstand or on their fireplace mantle or the credenza, something physical that they can hold in their hand. And I know those pictures are, the likelihood of them sitting with an iconic billionaire like that and actually having a conversation is pretty darn slim in the world. And they got to do that on the ship. And so now they have a memento that they can take with them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Incredible stuff. And again, I encourage people to kind of get involved with us. You can hear a lot of Jordan's stories. You got some of those stories in your book, Beach Money. Tell us a little bit about Beach Money and how that all came about.
So on my journey of learning lessons, we all learn lessons in our business journey and personal journey. I would write those down back before you could do it on a computer. This was many years ago, and I had pages and pages and pages, probably much like you, pages of handwritten notes. And I had this big, heavy box that had notepads in it that were filled, almost like journals, but they weren't journals. They were notepads. And I would use that as content for a weekly training that I did, which today we might call a podcast, right? It wasn't a podcast back then. There was no such thing. But I did a weekly training. We did conference calls and things like that. And it was open to everybody, but it was a lot of people within our company, and it was all generic training. And one day I just said, this information would be great for a book I think it would help a lot of people. And so I decided I was going to write a book. So I started, going through the notes and pulling out the things that I felt were the most powerful in writing chapters, editing and creating chapters. And it was kind of like just a collection of stories is what it came down to. Stories that were lessons. And I didn't know what I was going to title the book, but I remembered back when I was in my 20s, I used to save up my money. I'd save up to where I had $250, which would allow me to write a 3-line classified ad. and I would always have a little headline on it. It gave you a certain number of letters, and it wasn't very many letters, but it was $250. I had no money, so I was scraping together my last $250, and I could do it at like once every 3 months. And anytime I would put the title Beach Money, and I don't even know where it came from, but when I put the title Beach Money, I would get 20 times as many calls. And they were phone calls. They were literal phone calls where people would leave a message on an answering machine. Never signed anybody up, never sold anything. But I remembered that little headline would get me 20 times as many calls. So I thought that would be a great title for a book because it attracts attention and it says something. And so it became the name of the book, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I'll say, 1 million copies around the world. It's just been a great success, and all of the proceeds go to. Tell us a little bit about the charity, because I think the charity you support says a lot about you. So
yeah, the charity is in perfect alignment with, if you're an entrepreneur and you really are committed to helping entrepreneurs grow and start businesses. And I had a friend tell me about this organization. They're the largest micro lending organization in the world, called Kiva, KIVA.org. And they help entrepreneurs in developing countries. Most of them are impoverished. They live on, very, very little money. A lot of times they don't have shoes, but they want to start a business in their little village in South America, for example. And you can go on their website, kiva.org, and there's hundreds of entrepreneurs that want to start businesses that need a $100 loan or a $300 loan, and then they pay the money back and you can reloan it out. So we've helped literally thousands and thousands of people around the world start businesses through the sales of Beach Money. So the money from the profits from the book are contributed to Kiva, and then that money is lent out, and you can actually see where the money's going and what it's doing, and then they pay the money back and you can lend it out again. So if you got kids, a great thing that you can have them do is give them $25 or have them earn $25 and say, let's contribute that to Kiva and see what we can do with it. And go on the website and let them help to fund a couple of businesses.
As you share that, it reminds me of all of the we have our first level course is called the Promptings Seminar, where we teach the basics of the Promptings process in the Promptings Seminar. And we've been teaching that for years and years. And one of the exercises we do in there is we have you write down I am statements, and then we have you drill down to get to a core statement. One statement that represents all the statements. We call it a core purpose statement. And when you were telling that story, it reminded me of your core purpose statement. And so what is that?
Yeah, my core purpose statement is I am a dream broker.
So think about Jordan's book, think about his the charity that he supports in helping young entrepreneurs to get started. And then it goes back to who you are, as you've defined yourself as a dream broker. Yeah. I just love how all of that ties together, because that's exactly what you are. If you, when you get to know Jordan and you come to Vegas, one of the first things he may do is invite you to jump in his helicopter and fly around Las Vegas. Now, there's a reason you do that. You bring people in there and you share with them possibilities. In fact, just share with us a little bit. I mean, you've had hundreds of people on your helicopter, taking them around.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've had incredible dream building conversations on your helicopter.
We do. And I actually was sitting in this condo right here on the Strip and watching the tour helicopters go around. And, you don't question when you have a prompting, you don't question it. Right. And so all of a sudden I look up at these helicopters and I'm like, you know what? I need to learn to fly helicopters, and having no idea what it entailed, how much it costs and how much time and the energy and the focus and the learning and the dealing with your fears. That was a big one. But I saw these helicopters going around giving tours. I'm looking out here at the New York. I could see Mandalay Bay. I can see the airport and Park MGM right next door here, and the roller coaster. And I watch these helicopters and I'm like, I need to learn to fly helicopters. And so I immediately went online, found a school, and 2 years later I had my license and I could take people up. And so And yeah, it's a dream that was felt really out of reach when I took it on, and now I do it. And it's a great way for, like, I was given the gift of an invitation to fly one time, and that changed the way I viewed the world in a positive way. And so I like to be able to give that gift to other people. I like to be able to invite people to experience things they've never experienced before, because that stretches their dreams. It helps them to see what's possible. It helps them to see opportunity that maybe they couldn't see before.
So you had a prompting to learn to fly helicopters, and look at all the people you've helped by doing that. It's an incredible story. So Jordan, I know you're short on time, and I think we're up to the moment where you've got another commitment to go to. Any final words of encouragement, advice from the one and only Jordan Adler? The floor is yours.
Kody, every interview I do, they always ask that question at the end. So I probably should have something in mind when the question gets asked. But the truth is that, the subtitle of Kody's book, Promptings, follow your promptings and it will lead you to your genius. Isn't that what it is? Am I saying it right?
Well, that's in the book. Yes.
It is in the book. I thought that was a subtitle from your first book, Promptings.
Your inner guide to making a difference.
Your inner guide to making a difference. Well, in the book, follow your promptings and it will lead you to your genius. And because of the craziness of our lives today, especially with resulting from the media and social media, it's easy to get so caught up and lost in all of that we forget that we are destined to do great things in our lives and live an extraordinary life and impact people in a great way. And so because of all the chaoticness, we forget, or we just make the excuse that we're just too busy, or there's just too much going on. And the truth is, you won't live your best life unless you follow your promptings. You won't live your best life unless you move in the direction that your inner guide dictates, so to speak. Yeah. So that's really what I would just say in closing is just listen to what is meant to be for you.
Excellent. Jordan Adler, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us. Again, I know you've got another commitment to go to. We appreciate you so much. And appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure you share this with as many people as possible. Our goal is to teach people the power of promptings. And one of the best on the planet of doing that is Jordan Adler. So thank you for being on the show with us today.
It's an honor.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care. We'll see you next week. Have a good one.